Hi everyone, welcome to another video of Race to the White House Election Forecast 2024. On this video, we're going to take a look at how the Electoral College will look like if states vote only based on fundamental score. That is to say, if states voted only based on some parameters, some social-demographic indicators, such as education attainment, church attendance rate, or whether the state is rural or urban, or whether the state is diverse or not. And of course, neglecting some particular and local trends that really actually have a bearing in presidential elections. Of course, states do not vote only based on whether they're black or white. There are some particular changes in electorate, and maybe an electorate in a state, in another state, in two different states may vote differently despite being demographically really similar. But in this video, we're going to neglect those kind of factors and only break down every state from say to tilt for either candidate, for either party, really, only based on fundamentals. I really think the fundamentals are really good at predicting, of course, the outcome of an election in a state if we don't have much information, if we don't have much polls, if you don't have many polls, but they are really somewhat good at predicting future trends in some states, because really they look at the makeup of the state, the really composition of the state, and they really try to overlook contingent problems and really some kind of dynamics that will not be permanent. So let's start here from in the West Coast. So in the West Coast, we're gonna have a first few surprises. Starting here from the state of Alaska, the state of Alaska is going down as actually lean Democrat, all right? This is mainly due to Alaska being a much more diverse state than other states in the nation. Of course, Alaska has a history of voting Republicans, but if you look at here in the last few elections, it actually shrunk the margin and voted for Trump in 2016 by only 14.7 points, and in 2020 by only 10.1 points. This is, of course, a big change from, for example, 2004, when Bush carried it by 26 points. So Alaska is the first big surprise. Down in the state of Hawaii, we have no surprise. Hawaii will go down as safe Democrat, as so does California. Then the state of Oregon and the state of Wisconsin are really less Democrats than they should be in the 2024 presidential election. Washington will go down as likely Democrat, and Oregon will go down as tilt Democrat. Of course, this in Oregon is mainly due to the fact that Oregon is a very wide state up here. Again, Oregon was somewhat closer, for example, here in 2004 in the Bush versus Gore election in 2000. It was carried by Gore by only 0.44 points. In 2016, it was really not as blue as Washington and California. It voted for Hillary Clinton by just 11 points. And again, in 2020, it really shifted back to the right. Of course, being white actually really can say offsets the state being really liberal, being in the West, and being influenced by those kind of really particular movement here in California and Washington. One thing that you will notice, and as we really fill out the map, and is that there are fewer safe states than there will be in the presidential elections. This is because really demographics tend to be a little bit more motley, or a little bit more different, more diverse, and take into account different trends and different indicators. So for a state to be safe for either Democrats or Republicans, they really have to have really almost all the indicators pointing toward the party. The reality is that many states actually have different and conflicting indicators. The state may be white, but a little bit more educated. So in this case, we're actually in the election, there is one of those two indicators that really have the upper hand. And so it doesn't really offset each other. When we're talking about fundamentals, it does. For example, here in the state of Oregon, the state of Oregon is educated, and so being educated makes it way more blue than it would be just if it only based on fundamentals, which means that being really white actually drag it down in a tilt Democrat category. Then here in the West, we have big stripe of blue state right here in the Sun Belt. Nevada is a likely Democrat population due to the big Latino population here. The state of Arizona, again, a tilt Democrat, like the state of Oregon. The state of Arizona may actually be the only state in this map they will go with the same. They will go down with the same rating as it would in an actual 2024 presidential map. As you can see here, Arizona was actually still Democrat state in 2020. Then if you go to the state of Mexico, again, the state of Mexico likely Democrat, again really close to the actual result, while the state of Texas will go down again as likely Democrat. All right, this is a big surprise, a big win for Democrat right here in Texas. Again, this is due to Texas being very young and very diverse with big Latino population right here. Of course, in the actual result, we expect Texas to be way better. This is maybe due to, for example, the fact that many Latinos and many diverse population are really too young to vote. All right, they can actually vote, and may also be to do a very strong position of Republicans here in the rural counties. Right? If you go down to Texas here, you can see big red dots right here. You can see the party is really very rooted up here, and you can see higher turnout. So a kind of local dynamics here that really fundamentals don't take into account. Down here in the Great Plains region, we got the state of Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska 3rd congressional district that will go down as safe Republicans. Montana is actually the less Republican of the state, being more educated and less rural. Then if you go down here in the state of Utah, you see Utah is only a lean Republican. The state of Utah is more urban and more educated than all those other states. In presidential election, the state of Utah will go actually safe Republican. Again, there is some kind of outlier here when talking about Republicans here. Republicans in Utah tend to vote more Republican even though they're more educated. So if you look at here, educated people in Utah tend to vote more Republicans. Again, this may be due to actually historical trends, right? The fact that the party is really rooted out here, and so educated people, they're not broke really as Democrats as they do in all the other state. And we go down here in the state of Colorado, that will go down actually as lean Democrats. Again, this is some kind of something that really should strike your attention, because Colorado voted actually to the left of New Mexico in 2020 with a whopping 13.5 margins. This is because Colorado is actually less diverse than New Mexico. So being less diverse than New Mexico and just a little bit more educated makes it actually lean Democrat, while New Mexico goes down as likely Democrat. So now we could go down here in the state of Kansas and Texas go down as likely Democrat, of course. In the state of Kansas and in the state of Nebraska, the state of Kansas will go down as likely Republican. Again, the state of Kansas has a big educated population, more educated than all those other states in this region. For example, in 2023, it voted yes in a referendum to make abortion free for women in the state of Kansas, to enshrine the right to abortion in the constitution, the state statute, really. So we can see Kansas is a little bit more educated, and so this puts it down as likely Republican. So is Nebraska 1st congressional district, while Nebraska 2nd congressional district is go down as lean Democrat. Again, the districts are more urban and more diverse, as you can see or even the presidential election, when you can see here that Nebraska 1st congressional district went down really likely in 2020, and again Biden won here by 6.6 points in Nebraska 2nd congressional district. And then if you look at Nebraska statewide, the state is going to go down as again likely Republican down here. Then we go to the South. So in the South, really, we have many states that will actually look more blue, actually will look bluer than expected. The state of Arkansas is the only safe Republican state, and then all those other states will go down as likely Democrat. The state of Oklahoma, the state of Missouri, of Tennessee, Louisiana will actually go down as lean Republicans, then Mississippi, Alabama, and North Carolina likely Republicans. So again, this is mainly due to the fact of mainly due to the big black population that really dwells here in the South of those goes, of course, in those states there were really a big Republican tradition. Of course, after the actually Southern strategy from candidate Richard Nixon, the Republican Party really made big inroads here. And again, it has a very big tradition of voting Republicans here, in particular from white population. Black population, if you look at the share of votes, will actually make those states more competitive, tend to turn out less and be more disenfranchised from elections and from really detaining the power, maybe for historical reasons, of course. And so this actually plays into account, they must be taken into account when we look at the fundamentals map. Another thing, the state of North Carolina, again, the state of North Carolina is really demographically speaking is not so Democrat, not so favoring Democrat. If you look at a comparison to the state of Georgia, the state of Georgia will go down as lean Democrat. This is mainly because the state of Georgia is much younger than the state of North Carolina, is way more educated, and is way more black than the state of North Carolina. So in the state of North Carolina, I think with these dynamics in the fundamentals point to Republicans really having the upper hand here in the state of North Carolina. The tech triangle in North Carolina, we're talking about the city of Raleigh, of Chapel Hill, and Durham, if you look down here in North Carolina, are really driving Democratic turnout, but fundamentally speaking, the state of North Carolina remains more favorable to Republicans than, for example, the state of Georgia. The state of Virginia, again in the south, will go down as lean Republican. This is mainly due to the big rural region here in Western Virginia, in the rural counties, and again Virginia being a little bit less educated than, for example, the state of Georgia, even though here in the DC region, in the recent suburbs, we've seen a surge in urban and really educated people that actually have driven Virginia to the left in actual election, as you can see right here. Then now the Midwest. The Midwest is the big Republican outlier out here in this map. The Midwest is a big white region, a big really rural region, and a not so educated region. For all those reasons, the state whole in the Midwest will actually be very, very much, actually go very, very much to the right of a real presidential election map. Starting here from the state of Minnesota, which is actually one of the most left-leaning states here in the Midwest, one of the most educated, goes down as lean Republican. The state of Iowa and the state of Wisconsin, as we've seen in the last video, will go down as safe Republicans, right? Big fundamentals in favor of Republican. Here, for example, in the state of Wisconsin, the only fundamental that really favors Democrat is a not so high religious church attendance rate. But again, every single other parameter, rural, we're talking about rural school, we're talking about young people, we're really outnumbered by old people, white people around here. Even unions that have really lost their ground here and make those states safe Republicans. The state of Illinois, with big black population in Chicago, will go down as only lean Republican because, of course, here in the rural region, they have all those things that we have seen right here in the Midwest. So they all the same features here in the rural Illinois that really makes the state a little bit more to the center. Then the state of Michigan will go down as lean Republican. So does the state of Pennsylvania. And so does the state of Ohio. The state of Indiana will go down as likely Republican, while Kentucky and West Virginia save Republicans. The reason why you see Ohio voting to the left of Iowa and Wisconsin here is that in Ohio there is a higher population of there are higher share of unionized workers. So this makes Ohio a little bit to the left of those two states when we're talking about fundamentals, but actually when we talk about real election, Wisconsin, a strong tradition for Democrats makes the state really made the shifting to the right a little bit later than those two states and to a little lesser extent. So down here, we're talking about the big Democratic region in the Northeast. So in the Northeast, of course, we do expect those states to be more Republicans than we expect in the presidential elections. Of course, in presidential election, this is a deep blue area. Republicans are really not so trounced just up here in New Mexico, in New Hampshire and Maine. In 2016, actually, Trump was really close to win New Hampshire, narrowly lost seat, and in Maine, of course, he lost statewide by only 3 points. Again, if you look here, we have seen, for example, start from the state of New York, for the state of New York, big black, big diverse population will remain a safe Democratic stronghold, and so do the states of Maryland and the District of Columbia due to their diversity up here. The state of Massachusetts, the state of New Jersey, and Connecticut will go down as likely Democrat. This is mainly due to those states being white. Of course, when you talk about her here, we know that white people in New England or in Northeast don't vote Republicans with the same shares as white people, for example, here in the Great Plains regions. Of course, this is because there are other factors. Those are states that are really historically Democrat, with a history of communitarianism or liberalism on social issues that really have the upper hand and really trying to offset those states being white. So here what I'm talking about when I refer to specific dynamics in the state, for example, in a demographic category, that is to say white people, that really is really particular to those regions and really fundamentals cannot detect. When we're talking about the state of Delaware and Rhode Island, we're talking about some lean Democrat state. Those are a little bit whiter and a little bit with lower incomes. So, fundamentally speaking, we expect Republican message to resonate better here in those two states, and again, a little bit less educated in those other states. Then up here, we have big Republican regions. Up here, the states of Vermont and New Hampshire will go down as likely Republicans. All right, so those states, in particular the state of Vermont, is really the most left-leaning state here. He voted in the nation. He voted in 2020 for Joe Biden by 35.4 points. This goes against really fundamental scores because fundamentally speaking, the state of Vermont is really rural, white, and old. Again, in this state history, we're talking about communitarianism in rural communities and rural counties, made the state progressively and historically Democrat. So there is no way that Trump is going to win the state in 2024, but fundamentally speaking, the state of Vermont, along with the state of New Hampshire, will go down as really likely Democrat, really like the Republicans. So then when we're talking about the final state, the state of Maine, the state of Maine has really shared the same features as those states. Statewide will go down as, again, safe Republican. So does its second congressional district, while its third congressional district, due to it being really white, will go down as likely Republican. So the big message here is that Democrats 269 and Republicans 269. What it really means that the nation is not fundamentally biased against either Democrats or Republicans, and that both parties tend to win, fundamentally speaking, states that are going to lose in the general election. This means that the really dynamics in each state, in some states there are dynamics that favor Republicans over Democrats fundamentals, for example here in Texas, and in other states there are dynamics they favor Democrats over Republicans fundamentals, for example here in the Northeast, here in the state of Minnesota, for example, and some other in other states, for example here in Virginia. Again, when you look at trends, really, this map may suggest that some states are going to shift, all right? We're talking about some trends that really, dynamics in state trend to really not let us see. They really trying to suffocate them, to stop them, the really contingent dynamic and historical trends, but the fundamentals may detect. This is the case, for example, the state of Texas. The state of Texas is going to turn blue somewhere between, I believe, 5 to 15 years. The Midwest, I do expect if Republicans will really embrace Donald Trump message, even after he really finishes his job, Biden in 2028, or he loses the election in 2024, I believe that those states will trend Republican, and they will be Republicans-leaning state even in really close elections nationwide. Republicans won't need anymore to win big nationwide to carry, for example, the state of Minnesota, I believe. And I believe again that Republicans are making big inroads right here. For example, even in the state of New York and even in the New England region, those states that are really more favorable to Republicans, demographically thinking, seems to kind of really understand better the message of Republicans. If you look, for example, at northeastern Republicans, for example, the Harry Logan here in Maryland, or a two-term governor here in Vermont, we're talking about within those states that are really trying when they can, when they have moderate Republicans, they're trying to really sponsor their candidacy, they're really trying to help them. So I believe that this is kind of thing that in the last 10 to 20 years we may actually witness. And we may witness, of course, Democrats doing very good here in the West, and maybe getting a little bit of support here in Kansas, in Nebraska. Those are states that I think they will go trend to the right, trend to the left, and maybe we turn out those states in the South a little bit less Republicans. So for today, this is so. In the next few videos, I'm gonna explain better how the model works with the other three pillars that are voting transit patterns, polls and polling errors, and third party vote and turnout. So stay tuned to the channel if you want to know more about how the model works, and in particular if you want to stay up to date with my projections on the 2024 state of the race to the White House. See you next time on Race to the White House Election Forecast channel. Thank you, and please subscribe to my channel and like the video if you liked it. See you next time.